Let's talk about Zach. My dude Zach was a legend in the making, but he had this one weird thing. At home, his own home, he was always fully dressed. I'm talking jeans, a t-shirt, the whole 9 yards. Even when it was hot enough to melt a unicorn. Why? Because Zach had this little voice in his head, a tiny hater, that told him his body was, well, not ready for the spotlight. Even a spotlight of one. It's a strange battle, right? You're in your own castle, your fortress of solitude, but you're still wearing armor. It's like putting a password on your own Wi-Fi that you can't even remember. Zach felt trapped by this invisible rulebook he had written for himself, and it was getting exhausting. This wasn't about anyone else. His family was super chill. They didn't care. It was all him. He'd look in the mirror and think, nah, man, not today. It was a constant negotiation with his own reflection. He imagined his body was under construction, permanently covered by one of those big coming soon signs. But nothing was coming soon because he was the one in charge of the construction. This self-imposed dress code was his biggest secret and his heaviest burden. He wanted to feel free, to just walk from his bedroom to the kitchen for a snack without feeling like he needed a full outfit. That feeling, that simple freedom, seemed like a distant dream, like winning the lottery or finding a parking spot right at the front. Think about it. Your home is supposed to be your safe space. It's where you can be your truest, weirdest self. It's where you can eat cereal for dinner and dance like no one is watching, because, well, no one is. But for Zach, his home felt like it had a bouncer, and that bouncer was his own insecurity. This little dude was standing at the door of his comfort zone, arms crossed, saying, "You shall not pass," without a shirt on. It was a daily struggle that nobody else could see. He was fighting a silent war against his own thoughts, and the battlefield was his own hallway. It was time for a change, a revolution, even if it started small. Zach knew this couldn't go on forever. He was tired of sweating through his pajamas in the summer. He was tired of feeling like a guest in his own house. He felt like he was living his life in a costume, and the costume was getting really, really uncomfortable. He decided he needed a plan, a mission, a top-secret operation to reclaim his own territory. This wasn't just about taking off a shirt. It was about taking off the weight of his own judgment. It was about telling that tiny hater in his head to take a hike. The journey to body confidence was about to begin, one piece of clothing at a time. And trust me, it was going to be an adventure. The first mission, at the tender age of 14, was codenamed Operation Shirt Freedom. The goal was simple, yet terrifying: walk from his bedroom to the bathroom without a shirt, just once. He prepped for this like it was the Olympics. He did some push-ups, not for muscles, but for courage. He gave himself a pep talk in the mirror. "You got this, Z, it's just air on your skin. Air is your friend." He took a deep breath, opened his door, and took his first step into the hallway. His heart was pounding like a drum solo. He felt so exposed, like a little turtle without its shell. It was a 10-foot walk that felt like a marathon. He made it to the bathroom, mission accomplished. He splashed some water on his face, feeling a mix of panic and victory. It was a small step, but it felt huge, like Neil Armstrong level huge. One small step for man, one giant leap for Zach Kind. He started doing it more often. A shirtless trip to the kitchen for a glass of water. A bold, bare-chested journey to the living room to grab the remote. Each time it got a little bit easier. The tiny hater in his head was still there, but its voice was getting quieter. It went from a loud shout to more of a confused mumble, like, "Wait, are we doing this now?" Slowly but surely, the shirt started to feel less like a shield and more like an optional accessory. He realized that the world didn't end when his torso was exposed to the living room air. The ceiling didn't cave in. His dog didn't judge him. In fact, his dog didn't care at all, which was a valuable lesson in itself. Zach was dismantling the weird rules he had built brick by brick. He was learning that his body was just a body. It didn't need to be hidden away like a national treasure or a terrible secret. It was just his, and it was allowed to exist in his own home without being covered up. This newfound freedom was exhilarating. He could finally feel the breeze from the fan on a hot day. He could lounge on the couch after a shower without immediately having to put on a fresh tea. It was a game changer. Operation Shirt Freedom was a resounding success. It taught him that the fear was mostly in his head. The anticipation of the act was way scarier than the act itself. He had faced the first boss level of his body confidence journey and won. He was feeling himself, feeling proud, but he knew there were more levels to unlock. The next challenge was already on the horizon, and it involved denim. 2 years later, at 16, Zach was ready for the next phase. He had mastered the art of being shirtless at home. It was his new normal. But the jeans were a different story. They were his security blanket. Taking them off felt like a bigger deal. So he launched the Janius plan, the mission to comfortably lounge in his boxers. He started small, just in his room, with the door closed. He'd sit on his bed, feeling the freedom, but also feeling a little vulnerable. It was like his legs had never seen the light of day. They were pale, a little awkward, and definitely not used to being the main event. He slowly expanded his territory. First, a quick dash to the bathroom late at night when everyone was asleep. His legs felt so fast, so free, like they had been released from denim prison. Then came the ultimate test, walking into the kitchen for a midnight snack in just his boxers and a t-shirt. He felt like a secret agent on a stealth mission. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a gunshot. He grabbed a handful of cookies, his heart racing, and sprinted back to the safety of his room. But with each successful mission, his confidence grew. He was rewriting his own rules, one daring trip at a time. By the time he was 18, he was a pro at the shirt and jeans off combo. He was the king of his boxer-clad castle. But a new final boss emerged from the shadows. Socks. Yes, socks. It sounds silly, right? But for Zach, taking off his socks meant he was completely, totally 100% casual. It was the final piece of the puzzle. The sock saga was about being totally grounded, literally. Feeling the carpet or the cool tile under his bare feet was the last step to feeling completely at home. It was the final barrier between him and total, unrestricted comfort in his own space. So he did it. He took off the socks. At first it felt weird. His feet felt naked and kind of strange. But then, he started to love it. He loved the feeling of different textures under his feet. He was no longer a visitor in his own home. He was part of the furniture. He had conquered the shirt, the jeans, and now the socks. Each step was a victory, a testament to his growing self-acceptance. He realized that all this time, he was the only one holding himself back. The comfort he was seeking was there all along, waiting for him to simply undress and relax. He had come so far, but there was one final frontier left to explore. Years passed. Zach went to college, learned a lot about himself, and continued his journey. By 23, he was a different person. He was more confident, more relaxed, and more in tune with who he was. He looked back at his teenage self with a funny, gentle kindness. He understood that kid's fears, but he was no longer that kid. One hot summer afternoon, standing in his own apartment, he had a thought. He had conquered the shirt, the jeans, and the socks. What was left? He was home alone. It was his space. And for the first time, the thought of being completely naked didn't fill him with dread. It filled him with curiosity. So he just did it. He took everything off. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. The world kept spinning. No alarms went off. No judgment police kicked down his door. There was only a profound sense of peace and liberation. It was the ultimate form of being at home. He walked around his apartment, made a sandwich, and watched some TV, all in his birthday suit. It wasn't weird or scary. It was just normal. It was the final boss level, and he had defeated it by simply choosing to be free. He had finally, completely, and utterly reclaimed his space and his body as his own. This whole journey, from the terrified 14-year-old to the free 23-year-old, wasn't just about clothes. It was about confidence. It was about learning to shut out that negative voice in your head. It's about understanding that your body is your teammate, not your enemy. It's your home for your entire life, so you might as well get comfortable in it. Zach's story is funny, but the message is real. We all have our own versions of the shirt or the socks. Those little things we are scared to do because we are worried about what we'll think of ourselves. So here's the deal. Be a little kinder to yourself. Your body is amazing. It carries you through life, lets you dance to your favorite songs, and helps you hug the people you love. It deserves your respect and your acceptance, not your judgment. Start small. Find your shirt and challenge it. Whether it's wearing shorts in the summer or just looking in the mirror and giving yourself a high five, every little step counts. Your journey to body confidence is your own. Take it at your own pace. And remember, the goal is to feel as free and comfortable in your own skin as Zach finally felt in his own home. You got this.